It's evident that democracy means different things to different people. It's a statement criticizing the latest acts of this government, especially in relation to freedom of expression and even, more important, freedom of association. The language, for instance, which Buhari used in his interview recently and even in his statements from Aso Rock, when in relation to those who are clamoring for this or clamoring for that, especially the quote-unquote so-called secession advocates and so on, there is a statement like we're seceding or we're no longer part of this is an act of criticism, is a critical statement, critical statement of the situation as is. And any sensitive leadership must learn to understand this and respond to the reasons behind those agitations. Not say that, not start threatening and bullying and trying to intimidate people, because they are giving vent to very deep-seated grievances. I mean, I watched, let me just diverge a little bit. Again, stop me if I go off the intended question, because I only partially heard it. For instance, there was a question, I watched this interview with Buhari on this very channel, and there was a question about a question which involved the statement, the position of the various governors on open grazing. Yeah, here it's at least 50% of a nation, at least their representatives saying that within the Constitution, within this democratic dispensation that we say we're operating, we're saying on behalf of our people, we do not want open grazing anymore. And then somebody sits in Aso Rock and says to them, oh, well, there's a kind of constitution, I'm instructing my Attorney General to dig up some kind of law, colonial law, which arbitrated between farmers and herders. And says, so I'm instructing him to dust up those old mangy documents, and so that I can recover on behalf of a certain private business, I can recover the old roots, which means that he's not listening. He's not listening to what the people are saying. He's not listening to what the governors representing them are saying. He's saying, I am going to restore those roots by referring to some colonial arrangement. Now, when I listen to a thing like that, I really despair. It was a very instructive, I want to say this, it's the most instructive interview. I mean, not that there was anything new in it. One was just hoping that this government had transcended that kind of partisan thinking. It was very instructive. I was a leader who, incidentally, I must congratulate him on one thing. He seemed to have recovered his verve. He was energetic, he was quite articulate, he seemed to think about what he was saying. It's a very different kind of Buhari, but it's also a rather, disturbing kind of Buhari, because this was the language of a leader who felt he was on a roll, while the nation is on a roller coaster. And that's even putting it mildly. In fact, the nation is on a nosedive. And there he is, feeling that he's on top of events, and everybody from all quarters, traditional rulers, north, south, east, west, the ordinary people in the street, the professionals, the intellectuals, name it, the foreign governments, statements by foreign society. I'm not talking about Western government or Eastern government. I'm just talking about even some of our African governments are saying this nation is on a nosedive. And there he is, as if he's just woken up to a situation where he last took off to nowhere mentally, And that is why the leader is able to say, I'm ignoring, I haven't heard what everybody is saying, and I'm going to reinstate the old rules through one means, the old cattle routes through one means or the other. That's not, it means he's not listening. And if a leader doesn't listen, he's not engaging in the democratic imperative.
Okay.
And that is where the danger is. And so you have these various meetings. I think at this meeting of Obasanjo's initiative, you had former head of state, Abdul Salami, you had Sultan of Sokoto, you had the head of the Christian people, you had representative of this and that and so on. And there are all these well-intentioned endeavors, initiatives going on all around. But I think Buhari is still asleep where, he last fell asleep, and that's a few years ago. And this nation has changed dramatically over the last few years. So we need a totally different kind of verve, a different kind of appreciation, and a different level of understanding of what Nigerian people are like and what they will settle for and what they will not accept. And so, just go back to what I said at the beginning. On this so-called Democracy Day, we're embarked in a plane on a nosedive. And Buhari had better listen to all these various initiatives which are taking place around him. Ultimately, the buck stops at his desk. He takes his decision, but at least let's have a sense that in that place called Aso Rock, whoever is in charge is listening, ingesting, digesting, analyzing, and recognizing the fact that the tempo of disintegration of this nation has accelerated in the last couple of years beyond anything we've ever known since the Civil War. Let's go back to, let's go to a statement recently made by one of the governors. I think it was the Oyo State governor. And it had to do with the recent attack, this just butchery which took place in Oyo State, which is one of those defining moments. It's not the first, no, I'm just saying the most recent defining moment for the future of this nation. And he was saying, I cannot defend my own people, but we've set up the structures of defense, but we lack the equipment. We lack the equipment. And he's speaking, not for himself, he's repeating what everybody has been saying. We lack the equipment, we're ready to order it, we're ready to pay for it, we're waiting for the authorization from Aso Rock, from Buhari. I expected a leader to leap into the fray and say immediately, what authorization are you waiting for? Your people are being killed, you need this, I'm going to facilitate it. Come and see me in Aso Rock, if the authorities still rest with it. Because this governor is articulating the misery, the despair, the desperation of his own people, who say we're being butchered every day, serially, in morsels, collectively, and we need this to be able to protect ourselves and therefore continue to be part of this nation. Well, are you surprised then that the people then get up? Where did Sunday Igboho come from? What brings up individuals in desperate straits like Igboho? It's when they feel that they're not being listened to, and that their very existence is in jeopardy, is in fact in great question. So when you ask me what do the people feel, you hear it everywhere. You see it, you hear it in all those rallies saying we've had enough, we're going Oduduwa way, we're going Biafra way, we're going... If the Benue people, for instance, felt that they had the logistics and that they were positioned to even talk about the session, they would have been the first talking the session, considering what's been happening to them in Benue over the past few years, to which nobody seems to be able to find a solution. So you shouldn't be asking me what people are saying. It's out there on the streets. It's in the open, every day. Go to the western corridor of Nigeria, Lagos, Ogun State, Oyo, just go up there towards Kwara. Go to that western corridor and see what's happening there. And so don't ask me what people are saying, it's obvious. Why was Amotekun created? It is an act of desperation, of frustration. Because those who are actually in charge, everyday kidnap, it's become a business. And then somebody comes on air and acts as if all is well, as if, very blithely, as if we're in a very simple there is just a minor hiccup somewhere or the other. I'm saying this whole nation is about to self-destruct. And I'm not the only one saying it. And it's time Buhari and his government listen and take action. Otherwise, we will not be celebrating another Democracy Day come next year. Do I think that Nigeria can continue as one?
Yes.
Not if it continues this way. Not if it fails to decentralize. Some people use the word reconstruction, some people use the word whatever, but if Nigeria fails to decentralize, and I mean to decentralize as fast as possible, manifestly, not as rhetoric, then Nigeria cannot stay together. Again, it's not Wole Soyinka saying this. Everybody said it. Generals have said, ex-generals, ex-head of states have said it, politicians have said it, analysts have said it, economists have said it. And sometimes we get that, and that's what's happening to people in the streets. That's where they're moving. That's why they're demonstrating. That's why they're defying even threats from the police, from the government. If you demonstrate, you're a threat to us. If you do this, we'll deal with you. We'll talk to you in language which you understand. It doesn't wash with anybody any longer. Because if the nation is on a suicide slide, the people who feel that they do not deserve that kind of suicidal plunge, they have a right to say, sorry, I'm getting off this plane before it nosedives.